education in West Philly Y. We used to fight police brutality. We used to do cop watches. I was responsible for printing out flyers. I was 15. I mean, it was never hard, as crazy as this sounds. I know you're gonna go, but we never had a hard time getting people to get arrested. We never had a hard time getting people to get locked up. We never had a hard time getting people to get yelled at and beat by cops. As crazy as this sounds, we never had people. It wasn't hard to get people to be active and activists. You know what was hard? The day after, when it was time to make those phone calls, when it was time to visit those prisoners, when it was time to make those photocopies, when it was time to read a damn book. Organizing isn't just about the show. After the show is the after party. To get R. Kelly. We got work to do, family. We got to organize. We got to be willing to struggle. And we have to be willing to make a sacrifice for something that's bigger than us.
Yes.
And I don't want you all, because I don't want to leave you all on a blue note. I don't. I want you all to really leave here understanding that the work we've done matters. The fact that we're here, International House Pain Campus, talk about this in 2013 means that the work we did matters. The fact that prison is something we can talk about matters. The fact that there's people here thinking about sexual assault in prison. Think about how we can maybe stop, normalize this idea that men being raped in prison is not only normal but funny. The fact that we can be here talking about how to invest in something other than prison, take kind of prophylactic measures so that we can invest in early childhood education, mentoring programs, and all sorts of other things that prevent people from getting into prison in the first place. The fact that we're doing that means that this matters. The fact that there's people here using poetry and sort of verbal spoken word and written poetry and people telling stories and people performing and using dance for the purpose of liberating prison, that matters. The last thing we have to do, we have to release our imaginations. I need you all to actually imagine a different world. I need you all to imagine the world that is not yet. Someone once said it's easy for people to imagine the end of the world itself than to imagine the end of capitalism. I think we moved into a moment where it's also easier for people to imagine the end of the world itself than to imagine the end of prison. But I'm daring you all to imagine the end of prison. To imagine a world filled with not just decarceration, but excarceration. We no longer use prison as the space to locate people who have fallen to by the wayside. No longer using cages as a way to respond to social conflict. To find new ways of making people whole, to find new ways of thinking about justice, to find new ways of thinking about democracy, of finding new ways of investing in ourselves and our nation state that doesn't come at the expense of the vulnerable. I want you all to imagine a different world. I want you all to think, not just today, not just 5 years from now, but 20 years from now, that it is in fact possible to have a world without prisons. As Maxine Green said, I want you to release your imagination. And I want you all to never stop hoping.
That's right.
Never stop hoping. I've been part of the Free Media campaign for 19 years. And in 2011, in December, we got a major victory. Clap for that. He was on death row. He was on death row. Now, don't get me wrong, we ain't done yet. As the officer said, I went from fast death row to slow death row. Life in prison. Life in prison ain't justice if you ain't do it. But the point is, we struggled for 30 years with no evidence that we would win. There was no evidence that we would win. All the evidence was again, every appeal, every challenge, denied. Every struggle, rebuffed. There was no evidence that we would win. But it's through the work of people like Pan Africa.
Right. Never gave up.
That we were able to see a partial victory. Why? Because we struggled in spite of the odds, maybe even because of them. There will always be something else to struggle for. I can't imagine a world without struggle, but the victory is in that struggle. We battled for 30 years, and in December, Mumia moved from death row to life in prison. We saved him. And people say, well, some of the liberal purists, many of whom I've never actually seen at a rally, said, you know, this ain't a real victory. We shouldn't even accept this. Some people said, as a matter of protest, he should stay on death row. I'm serious. They said, this is unjust, this is unfair, this is a concession, reform flies in the face of abolition. We can't count this as a victory. I'm telling you all, family, that is a victory. It was a victory. But I said, you know what? I could be wrong. So I went to see Mumia. I went to see Mumia in March of 2012. I hadn't seen him in a couple of months. Our book had come out. And he said to me, Mark, they finally moved me out of death rows. They kept him in a segregated housing facility, which is just another form of torture. And he said, I haven't hugged or kissed my wife in 30 years. I haven't been able to touch another human being in 3 decades. I haven't been able to even embrace my grandchildren. And because of the work that people did on the ground for 30 years, I am able to feel my family's flesh and feel their love and touch them. I am able to live. And he said, not to mention, I'm in life and not on death row. And I said, but people say it's not a real victory. That moving off death row ain't a victory. You know what Mumia said in all of this genius? Shit. He said, anybody who say that ain't never been on death row. He said, you tell them I said thank you. And it's true. We don't stop there, but we have to celebrate these victories. The victories are what keep us going. Watching Mumia move from death row to life in prison was a victory. We don't stop struggling, but we have a victory. We pat ourselves on the back and we keep fighting. We have to imagine the next struggle, the next thing to work toward. Ending mass incarceration is our next struggle. Stop building first-class jails and second-class schools. That's our next struggle. Stop criminalizing poverty. That's our next struggle. But you all have to be willing to commit to doing it. I'll leave you with James Baldwin. He wrote a letter to our dear Angela Davis in November 1970 as she faced death row. And he said, those of us who know the truth and do nothing are worse than the murderers hired in our name.
Right.
He said, if we know the truth, then we must fight for your life as if it were our own, which it is, and render impassable with our bodies the corridor